Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Arant Family Meeting Room here at Chadwick-Dixon Fieldhouse for this most momentous occasion. I am Matt Jones, Associate Athletic Director here, and we do like to remind you that today this is a press conference. We have some of our members of the media here. We'd like to thank them as well as our various dignitaries that have joined us today as well. It's a very exciting occasion for us as we name our 10th head baseball coach here in Delta State history. And with that, I'd like to introduce our 9th head baseball coach and our Director of Athletics, Coach Mike Kennison. Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here today, and what a great turnout from our community. There's a lot of representation here. As I said, fans from the community, alumni, present team members. So again, thank you for making this effort to come today. That type of support is what has always been a great foundation for our program to play on, and we thank you for that. And we're excited to be here today and to introduce and present to you, as Matt said, Rodney Batts is our 10th head baseball coach. And what's probably a little more significant even to me is in the last 56 years, there have only been 3. So he'll be the 4th in the last 57 years. And again, that kind of stability has really benefited our program. Want to thank, again, those of you that have come, particularly Dr. Wide, who is our President Emeritus here. President LaForge sends his regards. Today is orientation day and a full slate for him as they move him from meeting to meeting. So he regrets he couldn't be here, but I assure you we wouldn't be here if he hadn't put his full seal of endorsement on this choice. And Rodney and Scotty and all the family have had that opportunity to meet with President LaForge, and he also is excited about what we do today. For me, not many unknowns here. For a lot of you, not many unknowns. Rodney, of course, a player here, a coach here, served as my assistant coach for 13 years. We sat the other night and kind of totaled it up. 19 years Rodney was here as a player, a grad assistant, a volunteer assistant, and then a full-time assistant. So in that regard, as I said, not a lot of unknowns. When you begin to look for coaches, there are a lot of things that you look for. But certainly his investment in this program was one that was really meaningful to me. And I know that he'll know his way around. Of course, when we get Rodney, we get Scotty. And I think they'll be a great team and do an outstanding job for us. They will have your support. They will have this community support. Some of you in this room are in the construction design business, and those of us that have ever studied that know that one of the strongest building principles is the triangle. Take a look at a bridge structure, any massive building, and you'll see that the foundation and the support in which it's built on is basically a triangular principle. I see that very much on display today. As it was important for me, if I could, in making this choice, to stay in that Ferris line, to stay in that Delta State coaching tree. I knew it might not be possible, but certainly that was the first direction I wanted to go. Second side of that triangle, of course, is the Marchant Foundation in this program. And I want to mention how meaningful it is to see Mrs. Ferris here today, and Margaret and Brett and his family, David Thomas, that represent the Marchant family in this. And the third side of that would be the Kennison Foundation. And Cindy and I certainly give our full support. And we want that to be the foundation that Rodney has great success on and coaches on here in this program. Other things that were important to me, not only just to stay in that Delta State family, if possible, to stay in that Ferris line, if possible, but also for every coach here in this department, it's really important for me that they be driven, that they be passionate about winning, and winning at a high level. That's not something I want any of us to take lightly. So the work ethic has got to be something that's expected and accepted. Competitive spirit for me is very important. Also, I know that on a daily basis, what we pour into our student athletes and what we, in this case of a baseball program, give values every day to building better men, that's really important to me as well. And Rodney certainly checks every one of those boxes for me. You know, when I called Rodney with this job offer after several discussions, and then there was that time for reflection on their part in making a decision, one of the things I mentioned to him, or the things I mentioned to him, is that as you make this decision, make sure you know that I think you're the right person, the right choice. I think you and Scotty are the right team. I think your family is the right family. Cindy and I were at the hospital when Reed and Austin were born here in Cleveland. Scotty did great. It was touch and go for Rodney, though, a little bit. And but we remember that day, or those days, and so in that regard, they come home. But I do feel like they're the right choice at the right time for so many reasons. I know the Batts and Moore families, and I know the type of support they will get from them, and I know how important that is. We have some present players here today, and I appreciate you being here and representing our team, which is pretty well displaced with summer activities. But they hear me talk about leadership all the time. The importance of leadership in any group effort. They've heard me talk about a guy that I admire, Norman Schwarzkopf, and his leadership and what I saw as a military general, someone who commanded troops and leaded them. And he has what are 14 rules of leadership. And players have heard me speak about that before. But Rule 13 is, if someone gives you the keys, drive. If someone puts you in a leadership position, lead. And I think that's my challenge to Rodney today, and I know he will do that. So I want to present him to you. And Rodney, I'm going to present you your keys. I want you to drive this program, all gas, no brakes, no worry about the guardrails, and take this program to a new height and further than it is right now. Rodney Batts.
I'm going to try to get through this. One, I want to thank President LaForge. I want to thank Coach Kennison, for this opportunity. to lead this program that it means so much to me, means so much to my family. And, like Coach said, we were here for 19 years. And not many times, does an individual have a chance to play in a program, have a chance to continue coaching in a program, and then leave. And then have the opportunity to come back and lead the program that you spent so much time in. A few of us, Coach Kinnison did the same thing, but that's how special this place is to me, to us, and I don't take that lightly. I understand the challenges of keeping this program at the level that it's been. I understand what it takes to do that in this league, in this conference, in this region, in this country. I'll touch on that here in a little bit about how nothing's going to change of what you know about Delta State baseball. My wife, my kids ask me, do you know what you're going to say? Well, I've written some things down, but I have no idea what's going to come out. But what I know is whatever comes out, it'll be from the heart. It'll be from the heart. We are extremely excited to be back home, and so many people have reached out to us through text messages or phone calls. Even the few times that we've been back to campus here in the last week, everybody we've seen, welcome back home. And that's what it is. That's what it is. We're back home. There's some people here that I need to thank. My family. I want to start with the first coach I ever had. As a coach, you learn from other coaches. You learn from your little league coach, you learn from your high school coach, you learn from your college coach. And you try to incorporate all that into your own identity. I was very fortunate at 5 years old to have a coach that instilled in me discipline and enthusiasm and passion for the game and playing the game the right way. And lucky for me, that was my dad. And was the first coach that I had. Probably the best coach that I had. And everything that he instilled in me, I've tried to carry that on with me into the coaching profession now. My dad, Chuck Batts, thank you for being here. Okay, my in-laws, Buck and Twinkie Moore, thank you all for being here. You have certainly been supportive of us at Delta State, at Gulf Coast, moving. You've been supportive, and I thank you. I thank you for being here. And then my immediate family. Cannot do this without them. These are the best assistant coaches that I have, the best assistant coaches that I will ever have. When Coach called and presented the offer to me and asked me if I wanted to be the next coach here at Delta State, I told him, I said, I know what I want to do. I know where my heart is. I know where I want to be, but I need to sit down and talk with them and make sure that's what they want to do. So we sat down, we talked, we prayed, we cried, and it was a matter of no time. Let's do it. That's home. That's what we want to do. That's where we want to be. Let's do it. As a coach, you want to make sure everybody's on board. You don't want to go off of just emotions and do what you want to do. It's a family deal. It's a family move. So us moving back here, moving back home was an easy decision, but it was easy for me because of you guys. Scotty played basketball here. She coached basketball here. Same thing as me. We came here at the same time. We were here 19 years. When I asked her about moving away from here 5 years ago, What do you think? What do you want to do? She was all in, supportive. Her one question was, are you really going to move me 5 hours away from my mom? So to move her back closer to mom, that was an easy decision. But she bleeds green. She bleeds green just like everybody in this room. And so many people that I talk to out there that I meet and say, glad to have you home. The next question is, where's Scotty? Where's Scotty? So I understand you're probably more interested in her coming back than me. You know, drove in this morning to a surprise. I got an aunt and uncle, Uncle Mike, Aunt Jamie, who drove down from North Carolina to be here. Some of you who were at the 2012 World Series in Cary that fed our team, I think some of you in here were at that. That's the ones that fed us right there. So, you know, I certainly appreciate y'all being here. That means a lot to me for you to take the time to drive that far. I appreciate you players being here. Appreciate you being here. The first three that I've met, so now I can put names to faces, but that means a lot for you guys to be here. I can't wait for you guys to get here in August and get to work with you. You know, Delta State, some people probably think Delta State, they're thinking, what's Delta State going to be from this point? It's going to be no different. What people know about Delta State, what people think about Delta State, it will be no different. I'm a product of this program. This is the only program that I know. And the hard work, the discipline, the passion for the game, the strong desire to be the best that you can be, that's instilled in me from this guy right here. And from Coach Marchant. And from Coach Ferris. You know, Coach Kennison mentioned the years of those three men, how long they've been in this program. I've been fortunate I've been around all three of them. And I've learned from all three of them. And there's not three better men to mold your coaching career after than those three. So I feel very blessed. I feel very fortunate to have those three in my life, and those three to be able to gain knowledge from and incorporate into my own identity. But what you know about Delta State, none of that's going to change. The only thing that's going to be different may be who's writing the lineup out. But everything you know about Delta State, the identity of Delta State, none of that's ever going to change because that is ingrained in me. The goals of the program will never waver. Our ultimate goal every year is to win championships, but not just be a conference champion, but to be a national champion. And that's what we're going to work for, and that's what we're going to strive for every day. You know, I was fortunate to be here for the first national championship in 2004. And I want to be here for the next national championship. And that's what we're going to strive for. That's what we're going to work for each and every day to bring the next national championship back home to Cleveland, Mississippi. I want to recognize the assistant coaches here, Coach Matthews, Coach Lott, Coach Brown. I've been on the phone with those guys. I've talked to those guys a lot over the last week and a half. I thank y'all for what you've done during this transition of me getting here. Every time I talk to them, they're on the road. They're on the road. They're out recruiting. I did see Slater, Coach Lott here one day last week. Today's the first time I've seen Coach Matthews. The other time I was here, Coach Lott was gone. So I appreciate you guys hanging in there with this program and continuing to work during this transition. I certainly look forward to this afternoon sitting down and talking and getting the game plan and moving forward with you guys. The best part of this, we're riding around last week and we're trying to find a house And I knew when this thing hit social media. We're riding around, we're trying, and all of a sudden, ding, 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 ding. Before I know it, there's 50 text messages. There's 90 text messages. And I had to put it on silent. But all of that was from former players, former teammates, guys connected to this program, not just guys that I played with, not just guys that I coached, but guys who were here before me. And I can't tell you how much that meant. When those started coming in, I just said, it's right. It's right. This is the place for us to be, no doubt about it. So I appreciate all the support, all the text messages, phone calls that we've gotten in support of us coming back home. I want to close with thanking two other people in the room who have meant everything to Scotty and I and our family. Coach Kennison. I was fortunate enough to coach under you for 17 years. I feel like I had a front row seat to the best coach that's ever coached this game. The passion, the heart, the desire that you instill in everybody that comes through this program, that's ingrained in us. And I thank you for taking a chance on me after I got done playing to be a graduate assistant. Taking a chance on me to be a volunteer, to giving me the opportunity to be the assistant coach for 13 years. But I'm standing here today because of you. I'm standing here today because of you, because of what you've instilled in me, and you've prepared me for this. I've watched every move you've made, every decision you've made, and I've programmed it in my mind, and I've learned from that each day. And that's what I have taken to me with my coaching. When we left here to go to Gulf Coast, it was the same thing. I took the Delta State program to Gulf Coast. And Miss Cindy, the backbone of the program for the last 23 years, however long it's been, a long time. But you've been there for us. Just like Coach said, you were there when our kids were born. You were there when I fell out in the hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning. And not many people know about that one. But you were there, and you've been there for us every step of the way, and I can't thank you for what you've done for me, particularly Scotty, and our boys. And I know you're going to continue to be there for us. I can't tell you how excited we are to be back. This is home. This is home. We're glad to be back, and we're ready to get the family here for good. That may take about another week before everybody gets back, and we get everything moved back to Cleveland, but we're certainly excited about getting back and getting to work. Thank you all for being here. It's been a special day for us, and it makes it special because of the people in the community that come out and support. So thank you.
Being here before, from a recruiting standpoint, how much easier does that make coming back to an area that you're so familiar
Well, because there's so much familiarity with the program and the league, that makes it easier. Recruiting's not easy, but recruiting's the backbone of your program. But being here for so long and knowing, the coaches in the area, might have been a little different if we would have moved out of state. But we stayed in state, so we've still got all the connections in state, the junior college coaches. Recruiting's not easy, but it makes it a little bit more sensible, I guess, and just knowing that you don't have to learn all new coaches, a new area. We're certainly familiar with the area here.
How much did you take from your Gulf Coast days, just learning your own kind of personal coaching style? What you learning about what worked and what didn't work?
Well, that's something you have to do as a coach, is you have to learn. And, when we went to Gulf Coast, that was the reason. We went down there to get the coaching experience, hopefully one day to come back. But yeah, you kind of, you learn on the fly sometimes, particularly when it's your first year. I've learned a lot through those 5 years at Gulf Coast, and learned the goods, learned the bads, and hopefully that'll carry on here at Delta State.
What are some of the first things you're going to do?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is we got to work a camp starting Wednesday. Jump right into it. No, the first thing is I've got to get in touch with our current players, and I've started to do that. I started to do that a couple of days ago on the ride up yesterday. Just introducing myself, getting to know them. The quicker I do that, the easier the transition is going to be. But I've also got to sit down with our assistant coaches and talk about recruiting. Recruiting is a 12-month cycle. It never stops. So they've been out on the road. I've got to sit down with them and talk about recruiting, get a recruiting plan, what we need, who we're looking at, and kind of get going from there.
What are some of the things you already like about the program coming in that you see from the past couple of years?
Well, I think we have a good group coming back this year. It's always a competitive program. But I think the group that's coming back is a good group. I think it's a good core group to start with. I know a good many of these guys, several of these guys, just being from the junior college ranks. I've played against them. I've got one former player on the team now. But a lot of these guys, and some guys sitting right over here that I coached against, they weren't very fun coaching against. I know I've got a good idea about where some of our guys are, but certainly looking forward to getting in touch with all of them and getting the game plan together.
Any other questions?
What number are you going to wear?
Well, I don't know. Whatever number's available. I'll just say that I don't know. When I left here, I was wearing number 11, but a number is just a number. So I'm not going to take anybody's number. If I have to order number 44, I think we just go through 43. So if I have to order a 44, I'll order number 44.
Did you discuss the option of wearing stirrups or not with Coach before accepting the job?
I did not. But he's told me anything you want to change in the program, you can change. So we won't change that. Like I said, a lot of things won't change, so they're not going to get off that easy.
Any other questions? Thank you for joining us today. Once again, momentous day for us here at Delta State. Thank you for being